Hey everyone, how are we all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of the Labyrinth Tarot deck. Okay, so this is one that just came in the post from Amazon a few days ago whilst I was away. Um, and it's one that I'd ordered months and months ago. In fact, I think I might have originally ordered it at some point last year at the same time as the Disney Villains deck, but my order got automatically cancelled for some reason. And I thought, oh, they must have stopped making it, but then that wasn't the case. So I reordered it and it's come. Um, but yeah, in terms of the box, we've got the usual sturdy box. It's the same as the Nightmare Before Christmas tarot box. To be honest, it's the same as most boxes we're getting these days. A lot of decks are coming in these kind of a sturdy protective boxes, which is good. On the inside, it has the cardboard inset for where the cards sit, and then on top of that, the book sits, and it works really well. It's got the ribbon and all that to pull the cards out. So yeah, top marks for the box. The book is about this size. Really, really good. It explains, and as I go through the cards, I'm going to refer to the book and tell you who the characters are in case you're interested. Um, but it explains, who the character is. It kind of gives you an idea of why they've picked that character for that card. And then it gives the upright and reversed interpretations for the cards. So the book's pretty good. Um, Cards, so size wise, um, wee bit bigger than a standard Smith weight. So you can see there a tiny bit bigger and a tiny bit broader as well. Um, Card stock is a really nice matte card stock. It's not quite the same as the Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's very similar. It might actually be the same. I might be talking rubbish there, but it's nice, flexible, matte, non-glossy cardstock, and it's quite smooth. So yeah, happy with that. Let's move to table down and we'll have a look through the deck. And as I say, I'm going to be referring to the book and I'll try and tell you who the characters are as we go through it. Now, before I turn the camera down, this is a pip deck. So for the minors, we have got pips. So if you don't like pip decks, then this probably isn't the deck for you, or at least it's not going to be a reading deck for you. Maybe you want to have it because you like Labyrinth or because it's a collectible piece. But yeah, anyway, without any further ado, let's change this round. So we've got zoomed in table. So I've got this kind of a set on the cards here. So in the full, I believe this is Sarah, the main character. So yeah, the Fool represents someone about to take their first steps on a life-changing adventure. Sarah, like the Fool, is trusting and a little naive as she starts out on her quest through the Goblin King's labyrinth to save her baby brother, Toby. So this is the main character, Sarah, that we see in the Fool. Which makes sense because the Fool is kind of like the hero of the majors, isn't he? He or she, sorry, or they, whoever. Um, the Fool as the almost like the main character as you're going through the majors, so it makes sense to see the main character of the film in this position. And as the oh, and sorry, I didn't talk about the backs, did I? These are the card backs. They're not reversible because one side's red and one side's blue, but they're still really, really nice, I think. So as long as you're not put off by non-reversible cards, I think this is quite a good card back. Um, For the Magician, we've got David Bowie himself. We have the Goblin King. And it says the Magician is a mysterious creature, confident in his skill and power. And that's why they've essentially picked the Goblin King for that. So that, I suppose, makes sense. For the High Priestess, so this is someone mysterious, respected, and powerful. as the goblin Zitzi, who carries fearsome magical elements in her handbag. You're probably kind of finding me out around about now that I've not really, well, I have seen Labyrinth, but I've not seen it in a long time, and it's not something that I'm not like a super fan or anything. So there's going to be a lot of these that aren't familiar to me, and that's why I'm having to refer to the book. Whereas if Sandy, my partner, was looking at these, he would probably be able to tell me who each of them were. The Empress, I think, is Sarah's stepmother, Toby's mum. Yeah, maternal figure, which is why they've picked her for that. Um, Sorry, I'm not really commenting on the cards themselves, am I? But typical Empress, and that kind of a Empress stance on that nice armchair, all this comfort kind of around about, works quite well, I think. The Emperor, um, the deck's the Empress is the deck's maternal figure, so the counterpart is the Emperor, and as such, Sarah's father is the natural fit. So this is Sarah's dad in the position of the Emperor, and we have this typical Emperor stance. Although rather than holding the scepter and the kind of a sphere, he's holding the baby bottle and a ball that says Toby on it. Toby is like the baby in the film. So I don't know, maybe this is a bit of a warmer Emperor card. You see him kind of obviously wanting to care for his kid. So that's quite nice to see. It's a nice Emperor card, I think. The Hierophant, here we have, so the Hierophant values order and tradition, and he takes his role in society seriously, just as Hoggle takes his job in the Labyrinth. So this is Hoggle. Now, rather than the lovers, we have the dancers. So these are two people perfectly in step with each other, beautifully, blissfully dancing through life. It doesn't make any reference to who the characters are, so I take it that anyone who knows the film will know who they are. There's maybe dancers in the film, but I do actually quite like the notion of using dancers as in the the, the harmony between two people that are dancing together. Being in step with each other, being in sync. Um, I do actually quite like that. I think that's quite clever. The chariot. We have this lovely dog. So Sir Didymus charging forward astride his trusty steed, Ambrosius. The chariot represents momentum, movement, and bravery taking charge. So this is Sir Didymus. Didymus, is that the right way to say that? Didymus. And Ambrosius is the dog. Um, so that's quite cool. So the idea of using, momentum and stuff like that. For strength, we appear to have this suit of armor. Strength represents a composed, powerful, commanding presence like that of the mechanical giant who stands guard the Goblin City. Humongous. Right, okay, so this is one of the guards of the Goblin City that we're using in the position of strength here. I mean, I suppose we're seeing a very kind of a representation of a very physical strength. Whereas for me, the strength card is more that Leo energy. It is that inner strength, rather than physical strength. But nonetheless, you do see a certain type of strength here, I guess. Hermit. So like the wise man, the hermit, like the wise man, is a solitary, introverted figure who spends a significant amount of time reflecting deeply on life. So the wise man, this must be. So the Wheel of Fortune, and I think this is part of the maze. I'm sure we see the arrows. Yeah, so Sarah draws arrows on cobblestones with lipstick as a strategy for keeping track of her path through the labyrinth. However, the brick keepers secretly twist and turn the bricks, confusing her. The Wheel of Fortune represents twists of fate and the constant nature of change. So that's quite cool. I do like that. So it's kind of a like, that she's trying to cheat the labyrinth by, drawing on the arrows and, she doesn't get away with it. Fate kind of gets in the way and twists them round and just confuses her all over again. Probably makes her more confused than if she'd just kind of not bothered in the first place. So it's this idea of messing about with fate, with fortune, and how fortune doesn't serve any kind of order. It comes from chaos. Justice. My phone's making a lot of noise, so if you're picking up on that, then I do apologise. Um, go all day without doing any filming, and then as soon as I start filming, it's bleep, 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 bleep. But anyway, justice represents fairness, rewards, and consequences. Just as the helping hands gives Sarah the choice to go up or down, and then take her in the oubliette when she decides to go down. Yeah, so I do remember this. Is this when she falls into a pit or something like that, and you have all these hands showing the way? A bit of an odd choice for justice, I think. Don't know, but anyway, nonetheless. The Hanged Man. What are we looking at here? So the Hanged Man represents someone who, like captive Ludo, so this is Ludo, the character Ludo, and I think this is, I'm not sure if this is like a wee sidekick in the as she goes through the labyrinth. So like captive Ludo has experienced an unexpected setback and is currently in a state of suspension and limbo. Oh, right, I see Ludo. So if we kind of pick this up, you can see Ludo's face there. Um, as he's turned upside down, he's hung upside down. So instead of death, we have fate. So it says here the Goblin King Jareth is skilled in the art of transformation, which is the theme of fate. This card represents change, transition, and metamorphosis. So is this meant to be another form of the Goblin King then? Who knows? But I like the idea of fate as, in place of death. Temperance, are these the arguing door knockers? Represents balance, sensibility, self-control, and duality. The sentient bickering door knockers adorn a pair of identical doors. Um, Good sense and patience are required to figure out which door to pass through. Yeah, so I'm sure uh, these give her the riddle. It's like one always lies and one always tells the truth. You can only ask one question or something like that. I think this would have been better in place of justice, if I'm totally honest with you. That kind of a puzzle and getting to the truth of the matter. Um, Not really sure. I suppose I could see because it's like two opposites. It's like two extremes. One that always tells the truth and one that always lies. And the idea of temperance is to you know not um not go to extremes, to kind of take that middle path. So I get it, but I just think this would have been better as the justice card. The demon instead of the devil. Though they mean no harm, the playful fieries prove, is that right? Have I said that right? Fieries, yeah. Prove to be dangerous. They get too caught up in their games to realise their actions could hurt Sarah. The demon represents vice, excess, temptation, and behaviours that lead to negative consequences. So, fiery demons in place of the devil, I think that works. The tower. So unexpected and sometimes catastrophic change, such as the one that Sarah experiences when Toby is whisked away by goblins to Jareth's castle. So yeah, so I believe this is Jareth the Goblin King's castle, where Toby is, taken away to. The star is this Toby's teddy bear. The star represents trust, renewal, and hope. It offers comfort and reassurance, like Sarah's favourite childhood toy, Lancelot the teddy bear. So, this was the main character, Sarah's toy, when she was a kid. So it represents that kind of that hope, that guidance, that feeling of protection almost that the star brings. So that's quite nice. I do like that. Do you see how in the card his foot is kind of a coming out of the card and onto the title? It may well have done that with some of the other cards, and I've just not noticed. Yeah, you can kind of see it here in Fate as well. But that's quite cool. I like that. Just that it's a daft, like a silly wee thing for me to hone in on, but I do like it. I do appreciate it. And the star is kind of doing the same thing up the top there as well. Okay, for the moon. So this is the peach that Jareth forces Hoggle to give Sarah. Is much more than a simple snack. One bite whisks her away to a dreamlike masked ball. Of course, it's all an illusion. Illusion is one of the key themes of the moon, which serves as a reminder that things aren't always what they seem. Excuse me, what they seem. So yeah, I think that's perfect. I think that's really good, and I like how it's depicted with the peach being in place in the moon. I love the two ravens, and although it's probably nothing to do with Odin, it does kind of bring to mind thought and memory. Hugin and Munin, is it? Odin's two ravens. I think that's really cool. Um, to have it, it's something a bit different to having a moon card. But yeah, that's the moon. For the sun, so this is baby Toby. So it says the sun radiates with happiness and youthful vitality, just like little Toby. So he's playing on his toy horse. His wooden horse. And the sun, but I'll be honest with you, the sun behind him is quite creepy looking. Normally we're used to seeing to the baby being the creepy one in the sun card, but I don't know. I think this the sun might just take the win here. Um, but anyway, Toby's quite a nice pick for the sun card, I think. Judgment. So the door guards block two doors, and Sarah must choose which door to go through. They explain that one door leads to the castle and one leads to certain death. While the predicament you're faced with may not be as dire as Sarah's, judgment represents pivotal decisions that can have major consequences. Now, I'm doubting what I said about the Temperance card, about the two door knockers. Are these the two that give her the riddle, or is it the door knockers? I may well have messed up there. Like I say, I've not seen the film in a very long time. Um, Evaluate your options carefully and consider their possible long-term effects. I'll need to ask Sandy that once I'm done filming this. And the world shows the maze. Have it all squinty. So life, like the labyrinth, is full of twists, turns, and challenges. The world represents the completion of a long adventure and the bright beginnings of a new one. So that's nice. We're seeing the kind of an entire picture as the world card, and that's the thing with the labyrinth and with any labyrinth, I guess, is the problem is you're so zoomed in that you can't see the bigger picture. And here we do finally see it from this kind of a vantage point. Um, we have these four characters in the corner. I wonder if it tells me somewhere who they are. Normally we have the four characters depicting the fixed signs of the zodiac. So um, Aquarius, Scorpio, um, help me out, Leo, and Earth would be Taurus. Um, yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Doesn't really tell us who they are. So that, guys, is the majors. We're on to the minors now. And just realised I'm not really sure what order these are in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, pause the recording, check the order, and try and get them into a bit of a more normalised order for us to look through them on. Okay, so we've got them in order, in the order that I would normally go through the minors in, because it had them a bit weird. It had like king, queen, knight, page, and then the ace through 10 of the suit. Not really sure why I did that, but that's the order that goes through them in the book. But yeah, so like I say, this is a pip deck. So for the pips, I'm just going to kind of flip through them, and then we'll talk again about the courts because we see characters in the courts. Um, so we have the Ace of Poles here. So poles is what we have instead of wands. So this is linked to the element of fire. So we have the Ace, and like I say, very pip as you can see. Two, the three. It is quite cool in that it's not just like a carbon copy of each, each implement, each pole. We do see kind of a different utensils used here. Four, five, six, seven, whoops, eight, nine, and the 10. One thing I will say about this deck, so it's one of these ones that when I first got it, the cards were kind of you know how when cards are gilded, they kind of tend to stick together, and you sometimes need to separate them a bit. Now this isn't a gilded deck, um, it doesn't have any edging at all, but I did find that I had to kind of unstick them a wee bit, and with some of them you can almost feel a wee bit of a ridge going round on the kind of a back side of it. Um, So yeah, I'm not sure what it is that's caused that, but that's just something to bear in mind. It's not flimsy or bad cardstock, I wouldn't say, but that's just a wee thing that I've found with this particular deck. I don't know if that's common with them all or if that's just mine. So that was the 10. Oh, I've just gone and lost my page in my book, haven't I? So for the courts, we do follow the usual page, knight, queen, and king. So this is the page of poles. And we have here, so the page of poles represents someone full of lofty goals, fresh ideas, and great potential. So it doesn't actually say who this character is. So any fans of the show may well be shouting out at me, telling me who this is. Might be obvious, but it doesn't say in the book. So for the minors, we don't have the. So I never really showed you, did I? For the majors, we have this wee description up the top, and that is what tells you who the characters are. And then we have the upright and the reversed, whereas for the minors, we just have the upright and reversed. So our page, our knight. Yeah, it doesn't tell us who the knight is. Queen of Poles. So this is the Goblin Gurdy, who is known for motivating others with inspiring theories and philosophies. So the Queen of Poles enlivens any room she walks into with her illuminating discourse and creative, stimulating ideas. So that's quite nice. That marries up with my idea of the Queen of Poles or the Queen of Wands or the Queen of Fire. And then the King of Poles, I believe, is the Prime Minister of the Goblins. I'm going to say Reem Baba, or Roim Baba. So the king is an experienced visionary with a knack for inspiring others to band together in pursuit of a common goal. So next we have the feathers rather than swords. So this links to the element of air. And in quite a few decks we see feathers as the air element. Let me just get to the right page here. So we have our ace. Not sure actually. I'm going to have a look at the ace because we do see this wee character here. No, it doesn't mention who they are. So we have the ace, two of feathers, and on this it says, does that say T HIJO? Is that 2021? Oh, this must be the creator, maybe. Yeah, so it's by, I didn't actually mention this before, did I? So the art is by Thomas HIJO. Hopefully that's how it's pronounced. So we have his name and the year 2021. That's quite cool. Three of feathers, four. So you can see it's interesting. We see like use of colour. So in this one we've got, two reds and a green. Um, in this one we've got all green feathers, so maybe this represents a more kind of a uniform thought pattern, a more kind of a calm down, grounded maybe, green for earth, more grounded state of mind. And five, we have this big red feather that's coming in and kind of a shaking things up, as often happens in the five of feathers or the five of swords. Six, seven, eight, nine, and 10. And then with our page, our knight, queen of feathers, so it doesn't say who she is, but it does say she uses logic and reason to come to her own conclusions and isn't easily influenced. The Queen of Feathers has the confidence to stay true to herself even in the face of conflict and criticism. Or Hoggle. Now Hoggle is one of the characters, so this must be someone in the film who comes up against Hoggle at one point or another. It just doesn't say who she is. And then the king is this beautiful owl. Yeah, so again, the card is a sign that logic and reason is called for now. Don't let emotions get in your way. Okay. So next, instead of cups, we have pots represent the element of water. So here we have our ace of pots, our 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's quite nice. I like how they're arranged. And the 10 of pots. And our courts, we have our page of pots, our knight, our queen, concocting feasts for a horde of hungry goblins. The Queen of Pots is a well-liked caretaker who is known for her compassion and creativity. So this is a character that we see cooking up a meal for the goblins, I assume. And the King of Pots. So the King of Pots represents a person as steadfast and dependable as malicious, malicious. The helpful, harmless, hollow-bodied creature who serves as the Goblin Army's post-trash battle receptacle. Sorry, post-battle trash receptacle. It represents a benevolent figure whose greatest strength lies in his emotional stability. So I do quite like the interpretations that were given in this. I think they're quite good. Um, if you were just starting out in the tarot and you wanted to use a pip deck to learn, I think that this would give you this is a pretty decent starter for 10 in terms of the interpretations. And then finally, instead of discs or pentacles, we have junk. So junk is the element of earth. So here we have our ace of junk. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And 10. And the courts, we have our page. So this is a fledgling junk collector goblin. It's depicted here. Our knight. So this is Ludo's Rocks. And this is chosen because the knight of junk is hardworking, helpful and dependable. Always there when you need him, just like Ludo's Rocks. The queen. And finally the king. Okay. So those are the cards. We'll give them a shuffle and then we will do an interview spread. So I've been shuffling away at these. I'm really appreciating the card stock when it comes to shuffling. Really, really good for riffle shuffling because it's very bendable. Um, and yeah, but it's not like it's quite, it retains its shape, like it's not bowing really badly. If you can see that. So yeah, really, really nice for riffle shuffling and good for overhand as well. It is quite thick cardstock, but I like it. I'm on board with this cardstock. So we'll do our usual, we'll do a wee interview spread with the deck, just to see, find out a wee bit about it. Okay, so first and foremost, tell us a bit about yourself. King of Feathers, coming right in there with the knowledge, the intellect, that really kind of a clever, taking the emotion out of the situation. So this deck might be a hard hitter, it might come across quite cold, but it's going to tell the truth, it's going to get to the heart of the matter, and it's going to be all about that kind of a very rational, conscious understanding. So that's a good tool to have in your belt when you do need it. What is its strengths? So we've got the 2 of discs, or sorry, the 2 of junk. So for me, this is about, making it clear when you're taking on too much, when you've got so much going on in your kind of a material world, when you're trying to do too much. And when something has to give, when you're trying to spin too many plates at once and you're not really able to excel in anything, um, the two of junk is often telling you, it's time to put something down. Um, you know, what can you put to one side for now so that you can do the other stuff really, really well, and come back to it later. So, paired with this kind of a very rational, like intellectual feel that the deck has, it might be good at highlighting these situations and just kind of a thinking through the way forward. Um, the third card is the deck's weaknesses, the deck's limitations. Right, okay, so we've got another two coming out, and we do have the two of feathers coming out. So it's interesting that way, whilst it describes itself as the king of feathers, it's not so good at, the two of feathers situations. This represents a choice. The two of feathers quite often comes up when we've got a choice to make between two things, or when we're kind of a between two different mindsets, and we need to make a decision as to either pick a side or find some third way forward, some alternative way forward. But it's often a bit of a stalemate, and quite often the only thing that will break that two of swords stalemate is the third sword. The clash of the third sword coming along and just totally obliterating things completely, which isn't always pleasant. So this is perhaps saying it's not so good at being stuck in the middle. It's not perhaps not going to make the decisions for you. It's just going to kind of highlight the situation that you're in and present your options to you, but you're still going to have to make the decision. The deck isn't going to say, you know, well, if you make this decision, then that is what's going to happen, and if you make this one, that's going to happen. Ergo, you should make decision one. Perhaps it's not going to kind of lay things out quite as nicely as that for us. Maybe not so much a future caster is what we're perhaps seeing here. What are you here to teach me is the fourth position. We have the nine of junk, I believe. Yeah. So to me, this is like the value in your hard work. Okay, you've worked hard, and you've got yourself to a point where you can actually relax and enjoy everything that you've worked for. And perhaps the deck is here to teach us when it is time to do that, and not to kind of um, keep trudging on, struggling through, and not realizing like kind of you've created this, you've put yourself in a position of luxury, so enjoy that when it is time to enjoy it, that kind of a thing. How can I best work with and collaborate with the deck? Four of feathers. See a pattern coming out here. Um, so I suppose that's just about in a meditative state, quiet your mind. The deck wants me to come to it when I'm calm and collected, not when I'm, like highly strung and up to high dough and, frantic about making this decision. That's perhaps not the right kind of a way to approach it. I'm going to have to make sure that I almost kind of a quiet my mind first. Then I'll be able to kind of receive the very conscious, down to earth, and maybe hard hitting messages that it's going to give me. And what will our working relationship be like? We have the two of poles. It was so. This is the two of fire. So to me, this is a card that's about building a portal. It's building that working relationship. So it's going to be like I don't want to say labor intensive. It's not what I mean, but it's about working towards that relationship. What's the relationship going to be like? Well, it's constantly being worked on. It's constantly being changed. It's not like it's right. This is it, and this is just the way it's going to be. It's something that's forever going to be in motion and flux. And I suppose it's only going to be as good as the work that you put into it. Could be a way to interpret this card. Okay, I think that's us then. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope that it was helpful and it's helped you decide whether or not you want to get the deck. Um, I'm not sure whether it's still available on Amazon. Um, but that was where I got it, so check it out on there. And until next time, I hope everyone has an amazing weekend, or an amazing week, depending on when it when it is when you watch this, what day it is when you watch this. So take care, everyone. Thanks for watching.